What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Red and Bold Show. We're excited to have you on this. What is today? Wednesday. This Wednesday, New Year's Eve morning. And hope that you have a good, fun, safe New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And hope that 2026 is really good to you. But for now, we're talking 49ers and the hated Seahawks. I'm your host, Marc Adams. You can find me at 49ers Camelot. And I'm joined by my always present, all knowing Anthony Robertson, my co host and friend. How's it going, Ant?
It's going well, and once again, just the intro, phenomenal. I'm doing good, and we're getting ready to kind of kick off a new season as far as 2026 is coming. And for the 49ers, they have one game left in the current state of the season, and then it goes to the playoffs, which is an entirely new season. But to get where they want to get and to have the situation they want to have, they've got to beat the Seahawks, and it's coming for full circle. You look back at week one, and I did go back and watch the week one game versus Seattle Seahawks, and there was a lot of things that were different in that matchup. You just look at Russell Gage and Marquez Valdez-Scantling that are out there trying to make plays for this football team. George Kittle got hurt in the first half, and you start looking around, and you're like, wow, Jason Pinnock was a starting safety for the San Francisco 49ers, and Marquis Siegel was a starting safety for the 49ers. It's very much different what you saw from that team compared to what you're going to see this week, especially on offense. So it is interesting that this matchup is happening now and how much different it looks from week one. And the 49ers know what they got to do to get it done. It's going to be a fun one. I think this one's going to be big time just under the lights. It's just going to be so much fun. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it is a very different team than what faced the Seahawks in week one. And some of those players, George Kittle played in that game for a series and then he left. Fred Warner was in that game. Nick Bosa was in that game. Michael Williams was in that game. Trent Williams was in that game. We don't know what's going to happen. Sounds like Kittle might play. Trent probably not. I can't imagine that he would, but he's probably going to at least try to do that. But I want to look back real quick at the Sunday night game against the Chicago Bears. The 49ers won that game without four of their top players. Already mentioned them, Warner, Kittle, Bosa, and Trent Williams, who went out on the first play of the game, the pick six. Would you have imagined when you looked back at that week one matchup against Seattle, would you have imagined that in a big game that they had to win late in the season without those four guys and without several other key players, that they would pull out a game like that? And would you have considered a couple of years ago, well, not a couple, but maybe 3 years ago, when we're used to seeing a team that success was really predicated on the defense and a great defense, would you have seen that we would be in this place where it's the offense that's carrying on? I mean, we saw that some in 2023, but that defense was still pretty good. This defense is not. And so considering everything, would you have expected the 49ers to be in the place that they are, where if they win one more game, then they're going to have home field advantage in the playoffs?
I think it was hard to consider that once Fred Warner got hurt. I think that it was kind of a feeling like, hey, without Nick Bosa, like this team can still be good. In fact, I did a video about it. Well, they're going to get Brock Purdy back. They're going to get George Kittle back. They're going to get, at the time we thought they were going to get Brandon Ayuk back. And you were looking at all these things. You're like, hey, once they do, this offense can roll and score, 30 points a game. And so it's conceivable. As long as you have Fred on that defensive side of the ball, you're okay. Now, I got to admit, when Fred got hurt at Tampa Bay, I thought it was a done deal. The way that they lost that game, the emotional, change in the football team. Robert Saleh talked about the first time they went back to practice, no one talked. And so there was a big step that had to happen. So to say that they were going to have all those guys out, including George Kittle and Trent Williams for the Chicago game, and that they were going to be able to win, I think it was tough to believe. Now, I will say this. they've started making me believe over the last like 5 games that no matter who's in there, as long as they have Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey, they can win a game. And so in that category, I started to believe it. But yeah, I mean, I think if we go back, halfway through the year, I think a lot of people thought this 49ers football team is done. They're not going to win very many more games without their leader on defense. And they've been able to do something special. And Brock Purdy right now is playing at such a high level. This team is averaging over 35 points per game. It's just really remarkable what Brock Purdy's done in the last 7 games. And the offense has just been spectacular. And when you have an offensive genius like Kyle Shanahan and he gets a feel for what defenses are doing to him, this is what he can do. And he's done it in a big way. And that game was electric on Sunday night versus the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, it was. It was a fun game. In fact, everybody that listens to us very often knows that I live in the Chicago area, and yesterday I was at somebody's house, and I was wearing a 49ers hoodie, and the guy was like, "Oh, I didn't want to see that logo today," and because he's a Bears fan, and but he even in that he was like, that was an amazing game, and just to have Caleb Williams fall like just a foot short basically with that throw, and his take was, hey, we went worst to first, even if we lost, since we lost that game, and so I kind of walked away from it with the feeling that, hey, this is a young team that's coming up. We're going to make a lot of noise for a while. And I told him that's the attitude that you have to have, because you're not going to win every game. Some of those late fourth quarter comebacks that they were used to, those aren't always going to come through. And right now the 49ers are on a 6-game winning streak. So are the Seahawks. Something's got to give. I think there's 2 teams in the AFC South, which is shocking because that's usually a trash division. But they have 2 teams that have longer winning streaks. The Jags and the Texans. I think the Jags are on a 7-game winning streak, and the Texans maybe an 8 or something like that. And so that's really impressive. I didn't expect that from those 2 teams. I didn't expect that from this 49ers team. But what they're doing is really impressive. And the defense, we'll talk about that more. They've been horrible. But when the chips are down and they have to make a play, they've made it. And you can say, well, maybe that was on Caleb Williams, but that was a tough play for him. I mean, just that play in general, it was that was going to be a tough throw for him to make right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if he gets it to Swift, and I think that's what everyone's looking at, the first part of that play. If he gets it to Swift, number one, he sees Bryce Huff flash into his vision, and he's wondering, hey, can I get this ball by as I'm moving left? Bryce Huff flashing that way is something that he had saw early in the game, where Bryce Huff went out and covered DeAndre Swift in the first half. So he's thinking, yeah, he's going to run with them. I'm going to go ahead and stop, sit in the pocket, and find somebody else. So Bryce Huff doing that, number one, sets it up. Number two, even if he gets it to DeAndre Swift, Malik Mustafa is screaming that direction and has a chance to make a tackle. I thought that Caleb Williams did a great job of moving around, and he came up just short, like you said. And there's a lot of factors into that. Yetur Gross-Matos getting into his midsection and making it more difficult for him to make that throw, just bearing down on him. In the biggest moment, the 49ers made a play. And that's why the question about the 49ers defense is always, is it good enough? And you look at some of the things they were able to do in this game, they were able to overcome Brock Purdy's pick 6 because they got 2 stops on the first 2 drives against the Chicago Bears. That allowed the 49ers to get back in the game and then overtake the Bears and get back on point where they needed to be, since they had the ball first to start the game. And then at the end of the first half, also the 49ers defense comes through with a big stop that allows the 49ers to keep a 7-point lead heading into the second half, which was pivotal. And so when they needed to make plays, they were making plays, but a lot of it wasn't pretty. But the defense got it done when they absolutely had to, and that was a big part of this football game.
Yeah, even that field goal, that they stopped them, they gave up a field goal, but even that was big enough. So they did just enough. We've talked about players that have stepped up, like Mac Jones in place of Brock Purdy, and some of the other guys who've had to step in. We're going to talk about Austin Pleasance here in just a little bit because I want to see what you thought about him. But there haven't been many as big come up huge as Jake Tonjes. My question is, can we get some more Kittle and Tonjes 2 tight end sets? I know that Tonjes isn't the blocker and that Kyle likes to use the blocking tight end as his number 2, but man, I'd love to see more of Kittle and Tonjes in out in routes at the same time. You think that Kyle might try that more, considering what he's got? Because what was it 5 years ago? He was trying to find that second tight end to Kittle.
Yeah, I think there could be some key situations where you see a Tonjes George Kittle 12 personnel look. I think in the red zone is probably the most realistic to kind of get those guys together because of the matchups that you're going to get. And really what it is right now, there's a trend around the NFL where teams are going 12, 13 personnel. You look at the Chicago Bears, they ran a lot of 12 and 13 personnel against the 49ers, and it finds mismatches, right? If you go with your nickel, they've got an advantage in the run game. If you go with a big nickel, maybe you have an advantage in the passing game. If you go with your base defense, your 4-3 or 3-4, they have an advantage in the passing game for sure. So it's all about personnel grouping. So in a time when everyone's leaning towards 12 and 13 and making it difficult on teams, including the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan sticks with 21 personnel because there's no teams in the NFL that do 21 personnel. And you get a situation like this week against the Seattle Seahawks where their nickel back, the guy who's playing nickel for the most part of the season, is rookie Nick Emmanwori, who's a safety with coverage ability. So what would you like to do? Well, let's see what they do against 21 personnel. They want to go with Nick Emmanwori. That might give the 49ers an advantage in the running game where all of a sudden you're accounting for him with a tight end or you're getting a big body on him like Kyle Juszczyk, and you can have an advantage. So when Kyle's calling his personnel groupings going into these matchups, that's what he's looking for, is the personnel that matches up the best for his football team. And a lot of times it's 21 personnel, which is unfortunate for Jake Tonjes because you're right. Jake Tonjes and George Kittle together would be pretty deadly when it comes to the passing game, but they're looking for matchups. And that 21 personnel allows Kyle Shanahan to kind of get Christian McCaffrey one-on-one with linebackers, which he finds is a huge advantage, or even George Kittle matched up on linebackers and safeties, which he loves. And so we'll see. I think he mixes it in depending on what personnel look he's going to get. But I think we're going to see a lot of 21 personnel continue. And that's why Kyle Juszczyk is on the field over 40% of the time.
Speaking of Kyle Juszczyk and the guy he blocks for, is the 49ers running game back?
Yes, the running game is back. The way that the offensive line is playing and moving in unison, the way that Kyle Shanahan has been able to come with a run game plan that has really taken advantage of the motion of Kyle Juszczyk and the use of him, making it so you have to defend both sides of the field no matter where he's motioning, is making it difficult. Sometimes he goes in motion and they toss play outside like you saw with Christian and he got a touchdown. Other times he goes in motion, it could be the toss play, and then all of a sudden it's the counter play going back the other way. He's making linebackers hesitate for half a second. And the old mantra for offensive coordinator is, if I can make you hesitate and think about it for a second, that will allow my offensive line or my tight ends to get to you, and the second level blocks happen. And that's when you start having these big explosive runs. And we were seeing that from the 49ers O-line and tight ends. They were getting to the second level, opening things up for Christian McCaffrey. And then Christian McCaffrey is just phenomenal. Some of the runs that he made, some of the jump cuts that he was able to provide in this game were really elite running back caliber things. And it opened things up for everything. You saw the big touchdown to Juwan Jennings. That doesn't happen without a couple of things. Number one, those linebackers being willing to sit in the middle of the field a little bit closer and not get deep because the run game's so good, but also because they're looking at Jake Tonjes as well, right? So this offense really rolls through that running game, and this running game looked good against Indianapolis, good against Chicago. Now, I will say this. Chicago's run defense, not very good. But the way the 49ers executed shows you that they're in that level. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, that was the first time in his career, he went for 121 yards in the first half. First time in his career. He's done pretty much everything. So, yeah, I do believe this run game is back. And it's that offensive line and tight ends. Everyone has kind of gotten a symmetry now, and it looks really good.
Yeah, it looks like it's back. It looks like the 49ers run game that we've been accustomed to seeing. I just didn't know, is it back, or is it more who they've been playing? When they play a tougher team, but then again, the Colts weren't they like the top rushing, run stopping defense in the league?
Yeah, they were holding running backs to the lowest average per carry in the entire NFL. And then Christian McCaffrey went out there and went for over 5 per carry. So that's what really like kind of caught my attention. And then last week, they just did it again. I mean, it was everything that they were running was really good. And that allows the boot game and everything to open up. That looked like Kyle Shanahan's offense. And when they get that going, the run game combined with what Brock Purdy does, they're pretty hard to stop. That's why they're a 40-point a game team right now, because of marrying that offense, that running game and that passing game together. And that's why it looks so good.
How did Austin Pleasance look on film? I'll admit that I don't watch the offensive line that much. I tend to watch wherever the ball's going, and so the only times that I noticed him was when he was getting pushed around, particularly on that sack when Brock Purdy was almost Leonard Marshalled. You remember that play, right?
I do, unfortunately.
Yeah, when Marshall almost killed Joe Montana. That's what was flashing in my mind when I saw Purdy stop to throw, and that defender coming, Booker, is that his name? I think that's who that was.
Yeah.
And so that play was ugly for Pleasance. He got tossed on that one. Other than that, what did you see from him on film? Because, man, the offense didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, I mean, I was pleasantly surprised. And, that's really what you're hoping you're going to get from a backup offensive lineman, is they can come in and they can execute, play in and play out. And I think that was it. He was kind of more consistent than we were expecting. And there's a lot of things about Pleasance that you're looking at him and you're like, okay, is he going to be able to be a fit in this system, right? He doesn't move laterally extremely quickly. How is he going to operate getting to second level? He did pretty good. I mean, some of the second level blocks surprised me, the way that he was able to get out there and turn his hips, and he was doing a great job. So I thought it was good play from Austin Pleasance, and they needed it in the biggest way. And you bring up the Booker sack. On that play, it's a boot, right? They're moving the pocket. They're allowing Brock Purdy to get out. He just kind of pushed his guy by. He did not think he was ever going to have a chance to get there. Brock Purdy held on the ball just a little bit too long on that one. So I do think that he's got to be a little bit more mindful of the fact that, hey, just because the play's going around doesn't mean I can just toss this guy by. I've got to make sure I stick with them. I think the good news is we saw better play from him than expected. Now he's got a tougher test against Seattle. I mean, make no mistake, with what they're able to do on that defensive line, they're going to put some pressure on Pleasance, and they're going to have a game plan to go against him and try to put pressure on him. I worry about him against guys who can speed rush around the outside, who can bend the corner. I think those are going to be the things that are going to be troublesome. I look for the 49ers to try to establish a run game, because if you get this offensive line going forward, you get them in the rushing attack, that will make things easier. But this offense is not built on straight up pass protection, straight up pass sets. They're built on moving the pocket, and that is when this 49ers offensive line is at its best. How about this? Jake Brendel, no hurries, given up in the entire game. That is impressive. Jake Brendel had his best game of the season when it came to pass protection, and who would have thought? I look at this offensive line sometimes, I was like, really? I did not expect it, but yeah, they played pretty good last week.
Yeah, it's going to be a much stiffer test for them this week. We have a question in the chat from Joe Carmack. He says, "What's up, guys? Let's get that dub Saturday, Dub City. Will Kittle and Pearsall play?" So I definitely think that Pearsall is going to play, and it sounds like Kittle's trending that way. Have you heard anything different?
No, I do. I think that Kittle and Pearsall are both going to play. They're both practicing in a limited capacity. I think the fact that Kittle's out there is good. Kyle Shanahan was non-committal about George Kittle playing. He said, we'll kind of see. We're not really practicing. We're kind of going through walkthroughs. I don't think he wants to give the Seahawks an idea one way or the other if George Kittle's playing. So that way it gives them a little bit of competitive advantage. But I 100% believe with how close George Kittle was to playing last week that he's gonna go this week, and I think Pearsall will as well. And so that's good news. They definitely need both of those guys to be able to play. And so I think they'll both be going. I think Brock Purdy will have all of his weapons as far as skill players. I don't know if he'll have Trent Williams though.
A lot of big plays on offense. There was the big McCaffrey run. There was the touchdown pass to Juszczyk that Brock Purdy looked like Houdini out there. There was the big one to Jawan Jennings that was the go-ahead score. But was any play bigger than Diamador Lenoir's tackle on that hook and ladder right there toward the end of the game, one of the last plays of the game? I thought that ball was going to be in the end zone, and then Lenoir made a great tackle, and then the rest is history. But was that the biggest play of the game?
I think it's one of them for sure. I don't know exactly what the biggest play of the game is. I think there's a few that stand out to me. The Jawan Jennings touchdown, I think getting the 49ers the lead, that one was big. Of course, the last play of the game, but it doesn't happen, right, without Diamador Lenoir making a big tackle on DeAndre Swift and the guts of Ben Johnson to come through with a hook and ladder. And if you look where that ball is pitched, Diamador Lenoir is like 3 or 4 yards deep in the end zone, and he comes running out and is able to help make that tackle. And so that was hugely pivotal in the 49ers being able to win because it being at like the 3-yard line, it was more likely for Caleb Williams to throw the ball than for them to try to run it. And I think that helped as well when the 49ers end up dropping 9 guys into coverage, which someone like Dan Orlovsky said he's never seen before. So, yeah, that's a clutch play. And how many corners in this league are coming up and squaring up DeAndre Swift one-on-one and making tackles? I don't know, but the Hyena can do that. And so, yeah, that was a big play in that game.
Yeah, it was huge. Again, I don't watch. I watch the game, and then once it's over, I just kind of move on. I don't go back and watch film. When you look at the film, how did Chase Lucas and Darrell Luter Jr. play? Because to me, it seemed like neither of them had a good game. Chase Lucas obviously came in to play because Upton Stout went out with a concussion. To me, they seem to be struggling. Did you see that, or was it just one of those things that wasn't quite as bad as what it looked live?
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad for Darrell Luter Jr. as it probably looked live. What it was bad for was some of the linebackers. I thought that the linebackers struggled in coverage in this game, and for the safeties, I thought that they were the ones who really struggled the most. I thought Darrell Luter Jr. I thought he was going to be a little bit better in run support. He wasn't as good in run support as I thought he was going to be. But when it came to coverage, I mean, really, the corners didn't do that bad. It was safeties, linebackers that really got picked on. Ben Johnson came out with a plan to get those matchups that he wanted. I mean, there was one where he had Luther Burden come out of the backfield. D. Winters has got flat responsibilities, and he just watched Luther Burden run into the flats, and he trailed him later. That kind of stuff was a little bit it was strange for me. I was like, hey, what's going on with the coverage? And we saw it later on where D. Winters got into a drop and allowed Colson Loveland to pick up a 4th and 5 by not getting to his zone, his hook to curl zone. So I don't know exactly why he was thrown off, but we were seeing that. We were seeing Jair Brown take bad angles in coverage and get beat over the top. With everything going on, I don't think Darrell Luter Jr. is the big reason why. I don't think Upton Stout is the big reason why. I thought both of those guys competed at a high level. Stout got beat here and there, but also made some plays. I think it falls a lot on these linebackers and safeties, and they're going to have to play better against Seattle because guess what? That's exactly what they're going to try to do is attack the safeties and linebackers of the 49ers using Jackson Smith and Jigba and a lot of weapons they have at the tight end position. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, these linebackers struggle in coverage, and I didn't feel like they played well. D Winters had the game-sealing interception the week before. I felt against the Bears like he was always getting there a little bit late. And so I don't know if he was just not reading things right, but he just seemed a little bit slow in getting to where he needed to get. So I wasn't happy with how the linebackers played, but I was curious with Chase Lucas. I mean, I expect Upton Stout to make some mistakes, but in the preseason, Chase Lucas was this superstar, and then a lot of fans were saying, why isn't he playing instead of Upton Stout? Well, he's not as good as Upton Stout. That's why. But I was curious what you saw from those two guys on film, but so you felt like Luter wasn't as bad as what it looked live, but how was Chase Lucas?
Yeah, I think Chase Lucas struggled, and he struggled a lot when it came to tackling. We saw the one where he got kind of turned inside out by Luther Burden, and he could have had a tackle short of the sticks. I think he struggled, and they matched. As soon as they saw him, they targeted him. They went after Chase Lucas. It wasn't his best performance. We've seen him play better in games against the Rams and some of the other games that he stepped in for Upton Stout this year. But yeah, I mean, if there was a weak spot at cornerback, it was Chase Lucas. Got put into a tough spot, but you got to be prepared to play when you go in. And so I think that, yeah, of the cornerbacks, I thought he struggled the most. And I thought Ben Johnson really took advantage of him when they saw that he was in the game.
Here's an interesting question from Leon Sandcastle in the chat. Why do you think they benched Siegel rather than let him develop like Stout?
It was the coverage for Marquis Siegel. He just wasn't finishing plays. And Jair Brown at the time was coming in the big nickel role and starting to make some plays. You could tell he was starting to figure some things out. And I think that they decided to go with Jair Brown. Now, the interesting thing is, right, if you look at the safety position for the 49ers, they're all young, right? They're all developing. Jair Brown's in year 3, Malik Mustafa's in year 2, and you've got a situation where Marquis Siegel's in year 1. And I think that they wanted to try to get a veteran presence with Jair Brown out there on the field as the elder statesman and the safety room, which is crazy. And so I think that's why they went that direction. But I think at the time, they were looking for more coverage help because of what was going on with Siegel and the fact that Malik Mustafa is not the best in coverage either. So he's like, okay, let's get at least one guy who's a little bit better in coverage, and they went with Jair. But that's where they started losing tackling, because Marquis Siegel is the best tackling safety on the team. It's not even close. Like, he's that good. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting at the time to see them make that move, but I think that's why they did it.
Tommy Huxley in the chat with the $2 tip for you there says Tig is garbage.
Jair Brown is so up and down. I mean, you could look at this game and see how up and down it is, right? There's 2 plays that you see and you're like, wow, good thing Jair Brown's on this team. I think the first one is the second drive of the game for Chicago Bears, and they get a switch, and he's man coverage one-on-one with Luther Burden, with DJ Moore, and he knocks the ball away. And you're like, whoo, look at that play. The other one is Kyle Monungai comes to the line of scrimmage, and he's got one man to beat, Jair Brown versus him. And Jair Brown makes the tackle. We haven't seen Jair Brown do that a lot in his career, but those were 2 big-time plays in the game that he was able to make. But then, he gets beat over the top by Luther Burden for an explosive touchdown. And so it's like, if we could get more consistent play from Jair Brown, I think everyone would be happy about it. But that's why you get the comments from Tommy. And that's why, because a big explosive touchdown, you can't allow those things to happen. And Jair Brown was a part of a couple big explosive plays, including the touchdown to Colson Level. And everyone sees Tatum Bethune, but Jair Brown overcommitted. He's in the middle of the field for a reason. He overcommits. He basically gave up both of those big explosive touchdowns in the game.
Yeah, it's interesting because although I haven't done it the last couple of games, I normally make notes throughout the game, and then I release a rapid reactions thing for 49ers Web Zone the next morning. And when I do that, it's like clockwork. You can go through it And you can see those times where, because what I'm doing is I'm making notes based on my initial reaction to what just happened live. And so when you go through that, you see a lot of Jair Brown's terrible type statements. And then you'll also see a wow, what a play by Jair Brown. So it's yeah, he's so up and down. It's there. You said it well. Sometimes he's great, and sometimes, man, he's just like taking a wrong angle, or he's not where he needs to be, and so that's kind of frustrating. Um, you said last week, and you said the week before, that when it comes to this game, because 2 weeks ago I said I think the 49ers are going to go 2-1 in their last 3 games, and the one that I think that they are going to lose is the Seattle game. You said that you trust Brock Purdy more than Sam Darnold in big games. How about the San Francisco defense? Do you trust them in a big game?
I think I don't trust them to be able to consistently finish games. You know, when you're missing the big time stars and you're having breakdowns in coverage, I can't say there's a full trust. What I can once again say is that the 49ers are always going to be in the game because of how good their offense is. But this is going to be one of the most interesting things is you've got a Seattle Seahawks offense that's absolutely sputtering. We can't forget just a few weeks ago, they could not score a touchdown versus the Indianapolis Colts. That team got held to 18 points. The Colts were doing such a great job in that matchup. And we seen them last week, and I know they got a big win over Carolina, but they struggled versus Carolina for about 3.5 quarters before they figured some things out. And that was really with Carolina going for it deep in their own territory and things like that to let that game get out of control. Sam Darnold has become pretty pedestrian over the last several weeks. And they've been winning with defense. You just look at his total numbers. He's only had 25 touchdowns this year through the air. Brock Purdy has played 8 games and has 20 to show you the kind of the difference between the two. So I think that you're looking at a offense for Seattle that's going to have to go through the running game, and the 49ers defense has a better opportunity to slow down Seattle, I think, in this game than they did against Chicago, because I don't think the Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks offense is as good as the Chicago Bears offense, but they do have some weapons, right? Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to be a problem, and I know De'Amari Lenoir's talking about, hey, I want to shadow him or I want to go wherever he goes. That's going to be interesting. I don't think the 49ers will do that for the most part, but occasionally I could see it happen. And then you've got that running game, and I think it all comes down to stopping Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. If the 49ers do that, the Seahawks can struggle. And here's one of the interesting stats. 49ers defense only allow conversions on third down at 39%, which is in the good category. Seahawks offense only convert at 39%. If that holds true and it stays 39%, I look for the 49ers to win the game. So that's going to be one of the key elements of this game is third down conversions from the Seattle offense.
You mentioned Darnold's struggles of late. Marcus in the chat wrote Darnold's last 8 starts, he has 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and is ranked 29th out of 33 quarterbacks per PFF during that run. What do the 49ers need to do to keep Sam's subpar play going?
They got to stop the running game first. Sam Darnold is the best version of himself with a successful running game because they'll get some things going on early on first and second down. They'll make easy third down and convertible plays where he can have easy reads, hit the check down. He wants to go to his first read for the most part. And that will also keep your defense from having to kind of inch up. Sam Darnold gets those big explosives because you're coming up to stop that run. And then he goes ahead and finds a one-on-one with Jackson Smith-Njigba, Rashid Shaheed, and he goes vertical down the field. So that's number one. Stop that running game and put the onus on Sam Darnold. And then after that, you have to generate some sort of pressure. And this is where it's a little bit harder for the San Francisco 49ers is generating pressure. But Seattle is going to be without their starting left tackle, Charles Cross, and maybe without their backup left tackle as well. Both of those guys are not practicing right now. There is a chance that they're going to start a rookie at left tackle or at right tackle, depending on what they decide to do with Abe Lucas. I'm guessing they leave him on the right. That could help generate a little bit of pass rush and maybe get after Sam Darnold a little bit. So I'm kind of curious to see how they generate pass rush, but that's how you do it with Darnold. Stop the run, make him one-dimensional, make him beat you, and then go out and make him make some tough throws with someone in his face. And he's proven before that he will turn the ball over a little bit. If there's one thing that they do bad, they give away the ball a lot. 28 turnovers for that Seattle Seahawks football team.
Wow. All right, good stuff there. I want to follow up with this question from Zero Shift, who asked, what about, I think he's talking about Darrell Luter Jr. as the big nickel when Renardo Green comes back. So he's asking about putting a corner at that big nickel spot, a corner that's played on the outside. I don't know. Has Luter ever played inside? I don't remember him doing that.
No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't played inside. I think when it came to coverage, that would be right advantage 49ers, and they could really put Renardo Green in the big nickel because he practiced at nickel his rookie season, right? That's what they were trying to get him to play. So I think he would be probably the one that moves in the most. That would make the most sense. I get the idea, though. Let's put three corners out there. Here's the concern, and I think why they've went with Pinnock, because Pinnock has played nickel before in a lot of different times when he played for the Giants, and also safety. You kind of got a more versatile piece that's a little bit better against the run. And that's where I would worry about Darrell Luter Jr. or Renardo Green being able to play the run. And you get a situation like the Seattle Seahawks, and they've got big-time blocking receivers, guys like Jake Bobo and Tariq Young and these big-bodied individuals, and you get out there with a smaller guy like Renardo Green. And I know Darrell Luter Jr., they're not small, but they play smaller than a safety-type player. I think it would give advantage to Seahawks to go 11 personnel and run the ball on you. So that's something to consider with your alignments and your personnels. I've always hoped they would go three safeties at some times. And who I'd love to see at the big nickel sometimes is Marquise Siegel. I would love seeing that. You got to worry about coverage a little bit, but I think that he's the guy that could help stop the run, especially how good he tackles.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see. I'm kind of like Diamador Lenore, that I would be tempted to let him follow the Seahawks' best receiver around, but I just don't know that they're going to do that.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to. So far in this defense is very built on zone coverage, right? If you're going to run a lot of zone coverage, you don't really need to have your cornerback go with somebody else and shadow them. If you're going to run a lot of man coverage, then that's why you put people on Revis Island, right? Darrelle Revis would go with people. They would run man under a lot of times, and then he would go take that guy away one-on-one. Deion Sanders, the same thing. It gave you a different ability. You could roll coverage and just have Deion go one-on-one. You're not really doing that with Diamador Lenore. I don't think that you want to do that. I think you want to play more of a base defense. You want to play more of the coverage schemes that you're really used to doing for a couple of reasons. Number one, you don't want Diamador Lenore out on an island with JSN. And I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying JSN is really good. Demo's going to get him sometimes, and JSN's going to get him sometimes. Let's not simplify things for Sam Darnold to where he knows that that's man coverage and he can go take advantage of going after Diamador Lenore. Number two, it also will protect the rest of your football team. Because we want the rest of them in zone coverage. We can't have a ton of man looks. Man here and there sprinkled in, like Robert Saleh has done, is okay. But this defense and secondary is not built to man across the board. So I don't think it always makes sense for Demo to go with them. I mean, why would you have Demo go and then run, a quarters defense where JSN runs across the formation? He's not covering him anyways. All you did was flip him to the other side of the field for what? So I don't think that's always the best avenue to go.
What's your biggest concern for the defense? Is it stopping the run?
Yeah, I think so. It has to be stopping the run because when you stop the run on early downs, whether you've got a pass rush or not, you put the onus on the quarterback to go make a throw. And if you can play tight windows and you can make him make a tough throw, you got things that you can do, right? Can they be consistent for 10 plays down the drive or down the field to get completions when they have to? Can they make those plays? I mean, you look at the last drive for the Chicago Bears, they forced 8 incompletions. And yeah, they were able to convert on some big third and fourth downs, but can a normal offense that doesn't have Caleb Williams and those explosive weapons be able to do that? Can Sam Darnold, do that? I don't know. I don't know if he can. I think that's what they've done all year. The teams that haven't been able to convert on third and fourth down, Those are the teams the 49ers hold their points way down. The teams that have been able to, that's when it gets tough. When you go against the Matthew Staffords and the Caleb Williams and the guys who have been able to make some big plays. So I think stopping the run is going to be the biggest concern. Get Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, keep them kind of around 3.5 yards per carry. Keep that yardage under 100 yards in the game. If you can get even to 100, 110 was the target window. And that means they can't run the ball 35 times. I think Seattle's going to come in with the mindset to run this ball 35 times against the 49ers, keep Brock Purdy in the offense off the field. And I think that's the method to the madness. But if you slow down that run game and put it on Sam Darnold, I think that's when you have the chance to get off the field.
Yeah, I went into this final 3-game stretch saying I'm more worried about the run games of these offenses than their quarterbacks. But through the first 2, it's been the quarterbacks that have caused the bigger problem. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. Can the 49ers offense put up big points against Seattle? I'm not asking them to score 40 again, but can they get into the 30s? Because, if this is a low-scoring game, it definitely favors Seattle. So are they going to be able to move the ball and get the ball into the end zone against the Seahawks?
I think they can. I think if you go back and you watch week 1, and I know a lot of things have changed, but when the 49ers had George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy together, and that's really the nucleus that I want to kind of have this conversation about, they were able to move the ball pretty consistently against that Seahawks defense. And the reason it is that there's so many matchups in a game, but Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle are matchup problems for opposing defenses. And it's no different against Seattle. Seattle's got a really good defensive line. They've got some good pieces in the secondary. But if you could target an area, it's linebacker. And this is an advantage for the 49ers. And there's nobody better right now than Kyle Shanahan of getting a matchup that he wants for George Kittle, for Christian McCaffrey on those linebackers. He isolates them, gets them one-on-one. And what defenses have had to do is try to take one of those guys away. Oh, we're going to bracket Christian McCaffrey. You see it on the telecast all the time. Oh, they took away Christian McCaffrey, and all of a sudden Jake Tonjes was open, or George Kittle had a big explosive down the field. They kind of play off each other. It's a tag team as far as how Kyle's running it. He's running it through his running back and his tight end. So with that, I do think that they can score points against Seattle. Now, I don't think that they're going to score 40 points in this game. I think if they did that, everyone in the NFL better just be scared, because if they go and they score 40 points against this Seattle defense, this offense is unstoppable. Like, that's how good the defense for Seattle is. But if they can get 27-30, I think they have a really good chance to win. And I think the things that are advantage 49ers have to be red zone. Seattle is good in the red zone, really good. But the 49ers offense is better in the red zone. And in fact, since Brock Purdy has been back, they're over a 76% red zone team. That is the elite category. That would be number 1 in the NFL. They're already number 2 on the season. So I think that's one of the key categories. The other one is one of the matchups. This is strength on strength. Seattle's defense is really good on third down. They are second best in the NFL. 32% of the time they allow conversions. 49ers are the best third down offense in the NFL. 51% of the time they convert. That is elite category. This is going to be a big matchup. If the 49ers win in third down, win in the red zone, I think they win the game. The other thing to kind of watch in this matchup is going to be turnovers, short fields. If Seattle gives the 49ers some short fields, I expect the 49ers to put up more points than we would normally think. So I think 27-30 is kind of the hot spot for the 49ers. Then the question is, can the 49ers defense hold Seattle to less than that? And I think that's going to be where, it kind of gets razor thin and razor close.
Yeah, and there's a chance for rain. So if that happens, then weather's often the great equalizer. So at that point, all bets are off. All right, final question. Who wins?
I think the 49ers are going to win this game. I do. I've kind of been on this bandwagon for a while. I thought they were going to win the first 4 to get to 10 wins. And then I thought after that it was, 2-1, 3-0. But I said, I think they're going to sweep. And I still think that now. You're going to have the home crowd. This place is going to be going crazy at Levi Stadium. The energy behind it, but also a football team that's highly motivated and a quarterback that's playing the best of any NFL quarterback in the NFL. right now Brock Purdy is playing the very best. He's the best on third down. He's the best in the red zone. He's the best generating plays outside the structure of the offense. He's lights out. If he continues that, I think the 49ers are going to score enough points to win this game. And I do think the defense is going to make enough plays, because even though Seattle has a lot of talent and they got JSN, they've got talent at tight end, they've got really good running backs, I think the 49ers defense is prepared for this. They have been working on stopping good run games over the last 2 weeks. I think that this running game is good. I don't think it's as good as Chicago. I don't think it was as good as the Colts. And I think they're going to have an opportunity to slow it down a little bit. And once they do that, this is where I talked about it a few weeks ago. I have more trust in Brock Purdy to make the big play down the stretch than I do Sam Darnold. I just don't feel like Sam Darnold can make enough plays. And let's not forget, Sam Darnold was in this exact situation just last year when he was with the Minnesota Vikings. They played the Detroit Lions in a winner-take-all, number one seed on the line, division title on the line, and he couldn't get it done. And so Brock Purdy's made these moments happen. Now, the great neutralizer, like you brought up, could be the weather. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. I still think the 49ers are going to get it done, though. And I do think they're going to score 30 points in this game, open a lot of eyes with how good this offense is. I think it's a championship caliber offense.
Yeah, if they score over 30 points, so they're going to win this game. That's a certainty for me. I'm sticking with that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, we remember the last time these two teams played for the chance to have the number one seed. Unfortunately, Dre Greenlaw is not in this game, but the 49ers have what it takes. So hopefully this defense can do just enough and the offense can protect the ball, because if they do protect it, then I think that they can and will win this game, as long as the defense doesn't do what it did last week, or maybe even the week before that. If they can play better, then I think they'll be in good shape. Thanks everybody for watching, for joining us on this early morning. Hope everybody has a great New Year's, great time this weekend watching the game. And we want to come back here next week and be celebrating the fact that the 49ers not only have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, but have a week off so that they can rest up and get healthy and get a little closer to the possibility of Fred Warner coming back. That's all we have. Thanks again. Hey, make sure you like this video. That really helps us out a lot, and we appreciate it.